Well, good morning, afternoon, and evening, Danvers. Jim Morose here with Jim's Table Topics, and today is October 16th, 2024. This will be the last show before the election of November 5th, 2024. A huge election, another presidential election, and it's blue and red, Republican, Democrat, you name it, it's happening. It's all right there. So at any rate, today's show, this month, the October show, will be labeled, titled 60 Minutes of Lies. I mean, I got a couple of videos coming up. I mean, you know, it's the tale of two interviews, right? The interview, J.D. Vance, and they're like, it's more like a mafia interrogation, torture, trying to get him to say something they want him to say, but he won't do it, and he keeps going back to the truth of the issue. But then again, then you go to Kamala Harris, and her interview, they're like, please, oh, everything's so nice, and then to make her look better, they edit the whole, you know, some of the answers and put it together, say, you know, it's to make her look better. So they're doing the hardest they can to make J.D. Vance gaffe and look bad, and they're doing everything they can to make her look good. You know what they call that? That's called propaganda. That's bias to the 10th, to the nth, as we used to call it in the biz. To the nth means this, it's just to infinity. There's 100% is for Kamala, and 100% is against Trump and Vance, and it's just on full display. So good luck to you voters out there, you know, believing whatever it is you're going to believe. But that's the basis of the introduction for today's show. But as you know, I like to focus at least on the good news from at least a good portion of the show. Unfortunately, I got a lot of videos today, so there's going to be less me, more video, but I think you need that because I've been saying the same thing for decades, you know. I've been doing this show since the 90s. And it's it's Pete, repeat, and it's the same old issues every time we come to an election. Lie, 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 lie. Your pants on fire all over the place. That's all politicians do is lie. And then then the media is working with the lying politicians. Of course, they only work with the socialist Democrat version. They loathe and disdain and disgust, which you'll see of Martha Raddatz all written all over her face. How she looked like the Wicked Witch of the West. I thought her head was going to explode. She was so nasty. I mean, it's not even cordial. It can't even be cordial. God have mercy on us. Okay, we're going to go to the good news because, quite frankly, I mean, I laugh at all this stuff, but, you know, laughing is just an extreme emotion. I might as well be crying. Oh, God, is this really happening? Yes, Jim, it is. It's really happening. Okay, so, I mean, the good news, it's, as a Christian, I believe in the Christian Bible, and the good news is, as prophesied in the Old Testament, there's the Old Testament, there's the New Testament, that a Messiah would come to atone for the sins of humanity, of mankind. So, and that's what Jesus did. He was the prophesied Messiah. He fulfilled over 300 prophecies that were in the Old Testament. They have Bibles that just kind of show you when you're reading the Bible. In the New Testament, it has a star that's filled in near verses where that's a fulfilled prophecy, and then you go to the Old Testament and it has the back and forth. So, and then it has a reference to the Old Testament. You go to the Old Testament and it shows the star. It's a what do you call it? Outline star. It's not filled in. And this is the prophecy, and then it tells you that, and then it goes back and tells you it's fulfilled in the New Testament here. And so you can do that. I mean, people say, it's just the Bible's a fairy tale, it's a bunch of lies, it doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, it doesn't make sense to people who don't want it to make sense and who are blinded by, they were blinded by the light, blinded by Satan, blinded by darkness, blinded. So we all have to strive for the truth. And the good news is Jesus loves us, he atoned for the sins, and all he wants is for us to acknowledge that he was the Messiah, he died for our sins, and we ask for repentance and forgiveness at the cross and say, your blood, your death died for our, you paid the price for our sins, and you are our Lord and Savior. And try to, it's the Christian process of sanctification, to get better as we go along, okay? We all try to get better as we go along. So at any rate, that's the good news. And okay, wait a minute. I got a couple of videos for the good news. So let's go to the video 1A. We'll just put that one up. Okay, it's our commercial for Jesus. Okay, that's right. I kind of lost my place there in the good news. But video 1A, it's Greg Laurie does his 1-minute commercial, and yeah, it's just something that I really like that he does. Okay.
Do you ever feel like you're all alone and no one cares about you? I want you to know something. You're not alone. God cares about you. God loves you. And you don't have to ever be lonely again, because Jesus Christ can come and live inside of your heart and be your Savior and your Lord. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about a relationship with God. He's just a prayer away. You can just pray a prayer like this. Jesus, I want you to come into my life. Forgive me of my sin. I want to start this relationship with you now. If you'll pray a prayer like that, God will hear it and answer it. And you can know that you'll have purpose in this life and hope in the life to come. And if you prayed that prayer, let me send you a Bible at no charge to help you get started in your relationship with God.
There's numerous Christian ministers, pastors, churches here in Danvers and across the nation and across the globe. I mean, actually, in Christian circles there, it's kind of like America has been a Christian nation, not as a, theocracy, but a lot of, I mean, people get confused with the separation of church and state. I can do a whole show on that. In fact, I have, but it's just pathetic what's happening here. But at any rate, we'll get into that a little bit more. But I lost my train of thought. But at any rate, the good news is universal. Oh, that's what it is. America, this nation has sent missionaries, South America, Africa, Europe, China, Asia, the whole, across the world. But now America has fallen what we call a post-Christian nation. There's less Christians than there are. I think we're less than 50%. I mean, there's Christians, but there's just it's like any group. There are biblical, Christians that, and then there are people that kind of water down the good news and the gospel of Jesus Christ. But at any rate, so the thing is that eventually Africa, Europe, and South America and Asia are going to have to be sending missionaries to America to teach us about Jesus, because we've lost our moral compass. And it's even self-evident in what just happened in Danvers the other night. I mean, well, that's another story for another day, but there's lawlessness. It's the woke lawlessness, and there are rules and regulations that need to be followed, and it's not happening lately. So, at any rate, yeah, there was a meeting last night. Apparently, Ducky, I won't say his whole name, but it was on the news last night and this morning that he was assaulted, beat up by a bunch of he's mentally challenged, whatever the woke term is, and he's just a lovable guy. He's and yeah, he's an adult, but he's still he's simple, and he's very nice, and he's very lovable, and he's just very he wouldn't hurt a fly, and so these kids torment him, and then last weekend they beat him up. I think they broke a rib. His arm is in a sling, and he was in the ICU for a little while, but he's out now. But yeah, if you want, you can go to Danvers DCATTV.org, whatever, DanversTV.org, and look at the Selectmen's meeting of October 15th, last night. It was just last night. And it started at like minute 27:09 or something. I think that's where it's blah, 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 blah up front. Then it starts with the input from the public. There had to have been over at least 60 people in that room, if not more. And, they listed issue after issue. This has been going on for 3 years that they've been, and the lawlessness, is the lack of following through on a police report. I mean, I don't know how they reported it, if they logged it or what's going on, but I guess we'll find out eventually. But at any rate, there are laws. We have the 10 Commandments that just kind of tells you, what we should be doing or what we shouldn't be doing. It's very simple. I mean, and Jesus broke it down to, love God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So you shouldn't do to your neighbor what you wouldn't do to yourself. It doesn't get any simpler than that. But apparently, Satan has ways of, tripping up people's minds. Okay, so. Yeah, why don't you just throw that slide up real quick? Picture number, I'm lost. Oh, yeah. Picture number one, Satan and sin. There you go. Satan's strategy is simple. Make sin look normal and make righteousness look weird. And that's what's happening. I mean, that's what I've been talking about all along. The media bias is that they're trying to make bad things look good and good things look bad. And that's where we are today. That's, so we have to really look at this information that we're getting, and it's coming from all corners. Everybody gets it from a different spot, and it's very hard to isolate because of social media. You go on the web, and there's so many variations of all these social media platforms. Newspapers are going, they're like the dinosaurs. I don't even know why they still print them. Because they can't buy anybody, they can't get anybody to buy the subscriptions online. They get a few, I guess, but eventually the only thing they're good for is the obituaries. I mean, that's it. But at any rate, we're all going to have to start getting out of our bubble, okay? I mean, I live in the Christian bubble, but unfortunately the Christian bubble is being swarmed and smothered by the socialist, Democrat, liberal bubble that just swats anything that disagrees with it. We're supposed to have free speech, but only if you agree with them. Look at our DEI director, chairman of the DEI committee there, Paul Pollack, at the selectmen's meeting. It was kind of a demonstration of how DEI, I guess, works. I don't know. But at any rate, it's information, and we all need to. So we're going to cue up this video here. This is Greg Laurie again. So he was invited to one of the Trump rallies to give a prayer, okay? And so he gives a little introduction, says the prayer, so you can see some of his description of what's going on. See, the left is great in creating new words to make Christians and conservatives look bad. So the new one is Christian nationalists, and Greg's going to talk about it. But basically, they just make up these words, and they think that, no, we don't expect America to ever be a theocracy. I mean, the Muslim countries are all theocracies. It's you got to either believe in the Muslim faith or, well, go check your Hezbollah and Iran and see how those countries are run, and Saudi Arabia, the Mideast, all your Muslim countries. Just see how that works out for them, and how the theocracy really works. And so, no, Christian nationalism is not happening here, and nor is Project 2025. But again, that's all they lie about. So yeah, fire it up and shut me up.
Hey everybody, Greg Laurie here with some thoughts about Christians in politics. I was recently asked to go to a Trump rally in Coachella in California, and I agreed, and I was asked to do a prayer there, which I'm always happy to do. Here's the bottom line. My job as a follower of Jesus, and specifically as a pastor, is to represent Christ. And I understand that when I go into any setting, I'm there as a representative of the kingdom of God. And my primary objective is to point people to Christ. Now, sometimes people will say, well, Christians shouldn't get involved in politics. Now, where would you get that idea? Oh, but there's a separation of church and state. I mean, just to answer that briefly, that was in a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to a particular person who asked about this. It was not in any of the documents, the founding documents of our nation. And the objective of Jefferson in writing on that particular topic was to keep the government out of the church, not to keep the church out of government. We as Christians must permeate. We must saturate our culture. Our job is to shine as bright lights and function as salt. Jesus said, you're the light of the world, you're the salt of the earth. We show our light through good works and the things that we do to help others in preaching the gospel. And we are salt by stopping the spread of evil, because that's what salt did back in biblical times. They would rub it into meat so it would not rot. So that's where voting comes in. That's where speaking out on issues comes in. Christians must be involved in every aspect of American life. So I went to this event and I did this prayer. By the way, if I was asked by the Harris campaign to come to one of their events and do a prayer, I would gladly accept that. You give me a microphone and an opportunity to speak, I'd be happy to do that. But here's what I said before I did my opening prayer to the folks that were gathered. Hello. How many of you are proud to be an American today? Raise your hand up. I thought so. How many of you fly an American flag outside of your house? I do too. Some of you fly really big American flags on your trucks. I've seen it. You know, there are those that would try to marginalize us who are Christians and call us Christian nationalists. And I consider myself a Christian patriot, and I'm proud of that. President George Washington said, and he said it to me personally, that's how old I am. No, President Washington said, quote, to the distinguished character of patriot, it should be our highest glory to add the most distinguished character of Christian, end quote. So here's what we believe. We're not trying to impose our faith on anybody else. We want the same First Amendment rights that all Americans have to stand boldly for our faith and say what is true. We're not trying to push that on anyone, but we do want to share it. Jesus called us to be both salt and light. So we're light. Jesus said, let your light so shine before men that they might see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. So we as believers want to be light, helping our neighbors like the folks suffering from the effects of the hurricanes in North Carolina and Florida, Hurricane Helene, and also in the state of Florida. So we want to shine our light. But then Jesus said we are to be salt. And salt was a preservative in biblical times. It stopped the meat from rotting. And in the same way, we speak out against what is wrong in addition to speaking up for what is right. And that is where voting comes in. And I read recently that there are 90 million evangelicals who are eligible to vote in this country, but 40 million of them do not vote. So I am urging everyone who claims to be a follower of Jesus Christ to vote, and to vote biblically in this election. No election in my lifetime is as consequential as this one, so we all need to engage. Now, let me say this. I will pray for whoever is elected to be the next president of the United States, but let me add something else. I've had the privilege of being in the White House when President Trump was our president. He welcomed me and other pastors and evangelical leaders to pray for the nation, to pray for him, even in the Oval Office. So he's been a true friend to the Christian community, and we thank him for that. And then following that, this is the prayer I shared with them, and we all concluded together by praying the Lord's Prayer. Check it out. So my job, and I'm glad I have it, is to lead us all in prayer right now. So let's all bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father, America was your idea before it was the idea of any man. This land has been a refuge for those yearning for freedom, and it has arisen to be the most powerful and wealthy country in history, and it's been a blessing to the world. Lord, you've blessed America, and we all have benefited from that blessing. So God, give us the privilege to pass on the America we have known for future generations. We pray for your blessing on this nation, for your mercy on this nation, and we pray for all leaders that you will guide and direct them, whatever their politics, but we pray especially for our friend today, President Donald Trump. We thank you for protecting his life from 2 assassination attempts. You put your angels around him. You put a hedge of protection around him. Now give him wisdom. May he be closer to you than he has ever been before. And may that be true of all of us, Lord. And so we pray that you will bless America. We entrust our future, our families, into your hands. Why don't we all close now by praying the Lord's Prayer together? Let's pray it now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. God bless you all.
Thank you for watching Harvest Plus. We're committed to providing you with content to encourage and help you grow in your walk with the Lord. Our vision is to use Harvest Plus to reach millions around the globe with the good news.
All right, welcome back. So look at, again, you know, this country was started, I mean, even when they had the first Continental Congress and they all got together, all the congressmen, representatives from all the states, and they said, well, okay, what are we going to do? He said, well, before we do anything, I think we should start with prayer. Let's get a pastor in here. So they brought in a pastor, had a prayer, and the prayer lasted for like 2.5 hours, okay? And so we've always started meetings ever since time immemorial, you know, from Washington, D.C., the Capitol building, to the state houses and to town halls. It was always started with pledge of allegiance and a invocation or a prayer, you know, a prayer. Someone would say something like, you know, let's remember that we're not here for our selfish little reasons. We're here to do what we can for the community and for God and for, you know, this nation. You know, we need to set our moral compass and make sure that we're not doing things for selfish reasons. And mankind is basically pretty selfish. So we have to make conscious decisions not to do things and not to bend to peer pressure to do things that aren't really good or right. We have so many unconstitutional laws and so many things that have just changed over the years. You know, it's like putting the frog in the water. They turn it just turn it up, and everyone's accepting all this stuff when we've gone way off the rail in the. And the next couple of videos, well, let's just start here. 2020, no, not 2020. It's the 60 Minutes, the news show. It's not a news show. It's a propaganda outlet for socialism and communism in the Democratic Party and anyone who believes in that stuff. 100%. There's no wiggle room, and it was on full display. You can see it, like I said, the tale of two interviews, okay? So the first one we'll end up watching is going to be an interview with Kamala Harris and how it was edited. And so you be the judge. You tell me, is this right or wrong? So whenever you're ready, cue it up and let her rip the interview. Change.
Former CBS staffers are reportedly calling for an independent investigation after the network aired two different answers to the same question during a 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, the first version aired during a promotional clip on Sunday night, while the second, shorter answer aired during 60 Minutes on Monday. Listen to both back to back.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Wow. Joe Conchas, a Fox News contributor, joins us now. Joe, I want to be crystal clear about something. This is not a thing that we do in the media. Yes, you may not always air the full answer to a question, but you never, ever put the answer to question B with question A. So why would the esteemed journalists at the paragon of virtue, 60 Minutes, think they could get away with such a thing?
I keep reading so-called media reporters defending this, like, who've never worked, by the way, ever in an actual newsroom, say, oh, this is very common to do this. No. Why, if you're CBS News, would you promote 60 Minutes with a clip of Kamala Harris saying one thing and then during the interview not play that clip and air something completely different? Oh, that's right. The clip you promoted made her look horrible, as what usually happens when she's outside of a teleprompter. And then the clip that you actually played was something that made her sound a bit more competent, I guess. Either way, it's very simple, Todd, if you're CBS News. Release the entire interview on CBSNews.com. Let everyone see it from start to finish without any edits, any jump cuts. And while you're at it, release the transcript as well. But CBS, they only released the transcript of the edited portion of the video. Why is that, CBS? We don't know, because Fox News has reached out to CBS News to say, why aren't you releasing the whole interview? And they won't even respond. This is the same news division that screams about the importance of transparency, and they're being anything but transparent here. I mean, this is journalistic malfeasance. And now the story is far less about Kamala's actual answer after the edit and much more about 60 Minutes and their ethics or lack thereof. And this completely justifies Donald Trump's decision to not do this interview on CBS, because they would have edited him the exact opposite way. They would have taken him and put him in the worst light, because that's CBS News these days. That's the exact opposite of what it was under Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite. That is certainly for sure.
Well, both things that she said may have been part of the same answer, but it may have been edited for time. We don't know, but certainly the answer that aired on 60 Minutes was cleaned up. So I guess the way to solve answer all these questions is to, like you said, release a transcript. Okay, so there's another controversy facing CBS. CBS Morning interviewed Ta-Nehisi Coates, who's a progressive activist. He's also an author, has a book out that's highly critical of Israel. He takes the side of the Palestinians. And one of the people to conduct this interview is Tony Dokoupil, who is Jewish. His ex-wife and two of his kids, I believe, live in Israel. So he asked Ta-Nehisi Coates some challenging questions. And because of this, it caused so much controversy in CBS. They conducted this internal investigation over his line of questioning. He ultimately was reprimanded as a result of what he said during the interview. So let's take a listen to a portion of the interview, followed by a CBS executive talking to staffers about what they called a controversy that transpired on air. Watch this.
And it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
We will still ask tough questions. We will still hold people accountable, but we will do so objectively. And that means, very plainly, we have to check our bias and opinions at the door.
Joe?
How utterly laughable by Adrian Rourke there. Tony Dokoupil was thrown under the bus in front of his colleagues on that call that you just played, called morally wrong, had the wrong tone with Coates, simply for asking solid questions to an author who believes Israel is an apartheid state. So if Tony Dokoupil, if he had the means, I guess he'd be like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm not going to work for this network anymore. But he has a family. I get it. He apologized. He had nothing to apologize for.
All right. Fox and Friends now. Thanks, Joe.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart.
Okay, welcome back. Again, as you can see, it's just not me. There's other people across the nation and across the. I was in England for a week and a half a while back, and yeah, their media, and they laugh at us because, you know, wow, they have real discussions about issues. But see, okay, so the issue is Kamala, you know, answered the question, and then they have two versions, you know. Well, this one, do you think they would give Trump or J.D. Vance the same thing? No. See, they're trying to make Kamala look good. They're trying to make Trump and Vance look like demons from hell. That's the difference, okay? So if you can't see that, then sorry. Good luck to you and your bubble, because when it bursts, you'll find out what the real truth is. Now, when you go to the second section of that, so here is a guy, I don't even know what his name is, but he's a Palestinian, he apparently, I'm going to guess he's a Muslim. He stands with Palestine and all the things that are happening, and he's against Israel, saying that Israel doesn't have the right to exist because basically what he was saying is that it's a theocracy. And I'm there, whoa, wait a minute, but you're supporting Hezbollah in Palestine and the whole Middle East, which is a real theocracy. And if you want to see how a theocracy works, you go to any one of the Middle Eastern countries and tell them, oh yeah, I'm an American Christian and I believe in Jesus Christ, and see how far that gets you. But at any rate, got to wake up and smell the stupidity here, people. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to keep track of time, and I'm losing. Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to see the other side. So that was Kamala and 60 Minutes. Now we're going to look at J.D. Vance in 60 Minutes. Now I want you to pay particular attention to Martha Raddatz and how she, you know, if she was a pitcher, she'd be. It's like throwing fastballs at the batter's head, one after another. Bam, bam, bam. No, shut up. Nope, nope, nope. And the face, and the face on her just screams, I hate you. Shut up and listen to me. I mean, it's really bad. And then when it's all over, she sums it up the way she wants people to think only what she thinks, which is the socialist, democratic, communist way. And he says, no. You have to see it. So again, this is the bubble. I see this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I see the people who listen to this stuff, you know, they don't even really pay attention. Go, oh yeah, Trump is bad. Oh, Kamala's good. They really don't know what the heck the issues are. I mean, you can see it at the men on the scene. And again, the same thing on our side. There's a bunch of people that have voted for Trump that don't quite understand, other than they know that, you know, I was making more money and had more than there was world peace during his administration. And here, chaos. It is chaos under the Biden, Harris, and, you know, this other Tim, whatever his name is, Walz. Oh, Lord have mercy on us. So the polarization has been complete. And that's what communists do. They pit people against people. So we're all down here fighting, and they're up there laughing at us going, look at those morons. We're going to just, by the time this is over, we'll be in charge, and they won't even know what hit them. So you won't know what hit you in your little bubble. Again, maybe you should watch like the Red Dawn, or go back and watch the Sound of Music and see, you know, how all this stuff just creeps up and bam, whoops, it's too late. You just gave away all your rights. No. That's why we have a Constitution, and they need to follow it, and they're not. Our governor right here, Maura Healey, she created an emergency declaration, a state of emergency, so that she has to implement this gun law. I'd like to say, well, Governor Healey, can you guarantee that all lives will be saved? No one will be shot with a gun if you pass this gun? No, they've passed 255 gun laws. There's no. The only change that needs to be made for gun violence or any violence is people's hearts, you know, and people's hearts are hardened, and they're polarized, and they're vicious. And you'll see it again on Martha Raddatz's face, and I think we should, cue it up, and let's see the J.D. Vance version of the 60 Minutes.
I want to, we played some other comments about migrants, including in Aurora, in Colorado, where Trump said the city had been invaded and conquered by Venezuelan gangs. The Republican mayor of the city said flatly the city and state have not been taken over or invaded or occupied by migrant gangs. So do you support Donald Trump making those claims that the Republican mayor says were grossly exaggerated, and have hurt the city's identity and sense of safety. I understand what you're saying, that some people left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly exaggerated.
There's got to be some. That means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city.
Okay, again, you see how she sums it up at the end? I mean, she is just really, no, I know what she's going to say. I know, and she's got the, I mean, I think we've all seen the stories, oh, so the gangs are only going to work in these 5 complexes they took over. Well, where were all the people that used to live there? And no, the gangs, they have their turf. You step on their turf, what do you think is going to happen? Pay up or die. Martha Raddatz and all these elite limousine liberals, we call them, they get so mad at all this people telling what's going on, but yet would they go walk in through? Yeah, she should go walk through Aurora, Colorado, and the few little areas that just have a couple of deadly gangs taking over, and without a bodyguard and an entourage of 5,000, it is just pathetic. It is just pathetic, and you can't get any more pathetic than that. But people believe this stuff. I think J.D. Vance did a huge job of, getting the point out that, do you hear yourself, Martha? Just a few? That's okay in America? We can have deadly gangs and it's okay? No, it's not okay. And it's all the policies, as J.D. Vance said, day one, when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden took over, they undid all the policies that Trump and Pence did to secure the border and to secure the safety of American citizens and to keep the economy going and everything else, and it's just bad. It's just bad. So, all right, we've got so much misinformation out there and so much polarization. It's hard to have an intelligent conversation. I mean, I got members of my own family. It's just like, yeah, okay, yeah. You know what? Let's just not talk about it because, you're from Venus, I'm from Mars, or whatever it's just like, you try to take one issue and then it just, have an intelligent discussion. What is the take one issue and just try to work the logical conclusion. What's the good points? That's why it was so good to have debating teams. And to, in order to have a good debate, you need to know both sides of the issues, okay? You have to understand what's good about it and what's bad about it, and then you have to make judgment decisions about what is what's the best solution? I mean, we're always compromising. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm so sick and tired of Washington, D.C., even town hall, Washington, the state, Beacon Hill, state capitals in Washington, D.C. Oh, they got these bills and they got all this crap in there, but all we want is the baby, that golden law that's in there. We need this law, but because everybody wants this law, they put all this other crap in there. And then if you don't vote for this, oh, they didn't vote for that because, and that's what they're doing to Trump right now. He said, no, don't vote for that, whatever it was, immigration bill that, well, if Trump didn't, if he signed it, all this problem would be resolved. No, there was so much crap in there, it never would have ended. It would have made it worse. It would have made it worse. But that's the way Washington, D.C. works, and Beacon Hill. We got to get rid of these people. They've been in there too long. They don't even know. Oh, Lord have mercy. We're going to have to just eventually try to find out what's going on. We got an election coming up, and they say it's tight. Well, it's a runaway. It's going to be it should be a landslide like Ronald Reagan when he ran. And of course, back then, I was a Democrat, so I voted for Jimmy Carter. I was not on board with the Republican stuff back when Ronald Reagan was president. So there you have it, folks. People can have that, they call it a red pill moment, an epiphany, a wake-up call, light dawns on Marblehead. Oh, wow, I've just been doing this as a mindless robot. But now, when you stop and think about the issues and see what's going on, we really need to take a step back in our bubble and say, what are the real issues? What's really going on? And I don't know. We'll see what happens, and the next show will be after the election. Ought to be fun. But until then, we're being sold down the river. What do you call them? What's her name? Kamala Harris wants to pack the court with 120 judges. Oh, I exaggerated. She wants 15 to 20 judges to get rid of, so they can always have liberal things go through. And Tim Walz wants to get rid of the Electoral College. Well, they're in the founding documents, and they shouldn't change. And I got two back-to-back videos here that I'm going to just kind of tell you why we're so far off the mark. We are so far off we're not a democracy. We are a republic. And if you don't know the difference, then you're the problem. We got to get rid of these people. Democracy. No. I don't want people voting if they don't even, they're begging people to vote, and then, what are the issues? I'm blue. Got to go blue. Lord have mercy on us. So go ahead, just fire up. These tapes will be back to back. There's two different ones. So there's packed with a lot of information, and we're not a republic, and our current leaders have just really gone off the rails, way overboard. It's just not happening. I don't know.
In 1924, President Calvin Coolidge spoke to a group of business owners. Unfortunately, the federal government has strayed far afield from its legitimate business, he told them. It has trespassed upon fields where there should be no trespass. If it was trespass then, today it's grand larceny. By 1930, government spending at all levels, federal, state, and local, was just 12% of America's economic output. By 2020, it was 45%. And it's not just spending. The Federal Register, the list of all federal regulations, grew from 2,600 pages in 1936 to 90,000 in 2023. Administration after administration, decade after decade, the US government just keeps getting bigger. Why? Proponents of bigger government say that as America's challenges grow, the only entity that can meet these challenges is the government. Are they right? Let's consider three major areas of spending: education, healthcare, and social welfare. Education comprises about 14% of all government spending. From 1966 to 2016, adjusted for inflation, spending per student nearly tripled, from $4,700 to almost $14,000. Has student performance nearly tripled? Nope. Math and reading scores have barely budged, and SAT performance hasn't improved at all. On a state-by-state basis, it's even worse. California spends $24,000 per student, and its K-12 performance is 37th in the nation. Chicago has doubled its school spending since 2012 to $29,000 per student, and test scores have plummeted. Only 1 in 4 students can read or do math at grade level. Now let's consider Medicaid, healthcare for the poor, which costs about $800 billion in 2022, or over 8% of all government expenditures. That's a lot of money. Is it making poor Americans healthier? In a 2013 paper in the New England Journal of Medicine, researchers studied the expansion of Medicaid coverage for low-income adults in Oregon. They found that Medicaid coverage generated no significant improvements in physical health outcomes. The results are also disappointing for the federal welfare programs that comprise America's broad social safety net. These programs make up more than 20% of all government spending. In 2022, the federal government spent $9,000 per household on 80 different welfare programs. But these programs, in addition to mind-blowing costs, have all sorts of unintended consequences. For example, Americans have been famous for their mobility, their eagerness to follow opportunity wherever it takes them. But a 2018 Yale Law School study found that welfare programs often discourage low-income people from relocating to find better-paying jobs. Why? Because they don't want to lose the benefits they're getting in their state. To recap, 41% of government spending goes to an education system that hasn't made us smarter, a healthcare system that hasn't made us healthier, and a welfare system that hasn't made us more prosperous. Maybe money isn't the problem. Maybe government isn't the answer. There is one more big factor to consider. All this non-productive government spending has landed us deeply in debt. In 2024, the US federal government's debt surpassed $35 trillion. The interest on that debt will surpass our entire defense budget in 2024. And that's not a static number. It keeps growing. The big government crowd that dug this hole has an answer for how to climb out. Tax the rich. Let's see what would happen if we did. A Cato Institute study considered what would happen if the government taxed 100% of all earnings above $500,000. Putting aside the absurdity of such an action, the study found that we would still be $200 billion short of covering the federal budget. And that assumes people wouldn't change their behavior in response to such confiscatory taxes. Why would anybody try to make a lot of money if they couldn't keep it? There is a way out of this mess, but it will take a change of mindset. We don't have to look back as far as Coolidge to get us on the right path, just to Ronald Reagan. Here's what he said. Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. For America's first 160 years, until President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, the government played a remarkably modest role in Americans' lives, and the nation prospered. The world had never seen anything like it. Even as the government has ballooned over the past 9 decades, it has not been able to stamp out Americans' knack for ingenuity and innovation. But at some point, something will have to give. No great civilization has survived the enormous levels of debt that the US government is now assuming. Why would we be different? I'm Joshua Rao, Professor of Finance at Stanford and Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution for Prager University. Thank you for watching.
At the close of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787, legend has it that a woman called out to Benjamin Franklin to ask what kind of government the delegates had created. Franklin responded, "A republic, madam, if you can keep it." A republic? Shouldn't Franklin have said, a democracy? Isn't that what we have in the United States? Most people today would say yes. After all, if our country isn't a democracy, what is it? It's not a dictatorship, the rule of one man, or an oligarchy ruled by a small group. In America, the people are in charge. That's literally what democracy means in the original Greek. Demos, kratos. The people, demos, rule, kratos. But let's pause for a moment and consider more deeply what the word means in practice and why the delegates in Philadelphia rejected it. That's right, rejected it. Our government was established by a national charter, the Constitution of the United States. We are governed by the institutions and according to the rules and principles created and adopted when our forebears ratified that document, making it the supreme law of the land. Are those institutions, properly speaking, democratic? The men who bequeathed our form of government to us, those we call our founding fathers, didn't see it that way. They understood the institutions established by the Constitution to be republican. In fact, though the founders believed in government of the people, by the people, for the people, as Abraham Lincoln put it in the Gettysburg Address, they did not believe in pure or unrestricted democracy. They feared that democracy, strictly speaking, contained within it the impulse to mob rule, the stifling of civil liberty, the trampling by majorities of the rights of minorities. To put it more bluntly, pure democracy frightened them. So while they built into the Constitution significant democratic elements, they also built in non-democratic features to protect liberty and prevent tyranny. It wasn't simply that they favored representative government over direct democracy, though they did. It's that they rejected the idea that the majority wins was by definition the just outcome. Indeed, in what is perhaps the most famous of the 85 Federalist Papers, Federalist 10, James Madison, precisely in distinguishing a democracy, which he did not favor, from a republic, which he did, noted that a crucial advantage of republicanism is to refine the public views by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens whose wisdom may best discern the true interests of the country. And so we have representative government, and more than that, we have a bicameral, that is, two-tiered legislature, a Congress with a highly democratic House of Representatives and a not very democratic Senate. Therefore, California, with its massive population, has 52 representatives in the House. Wyoming has 1. Yet Wyoming has 2 senators, the same number as California and every other state. A pure Democrat would say that's unfair. Each Wyoming resident has far more power than every Californian. But a Republican would say, well, we aren't and shouldn't be a pure democracy. If we were, large population states like California would overwhelm the needs and interests of small population states like Wyoming. That's why we're called the United States of America. Each state has its own separate identity, holds its own separate elections. Just as we don't want one person or small group of people to dominate our government, we don't want one state or a few states to dominate our government. A republic is a way of diffusing power, and a brilliant one at that. We see something similar in the Constitution's procedures for choosing a president. An obvious possibility would have been by a national popular vote. The founders wisely decided against this option. Rather, they created an electoral college to protect the interests of the less populous states. Even today, their decision makes sense. As my Princeton colleague, Professor Alan Gelzo, observes, a direct national popular vote would incentivize campaigns to focus almost exclusively on densely populated urban areas. The Electoral College system incentivizes candidates to court voters more broadly, making presidential elections more fully national. So if we understand the system of government our founders bequeathed to us, we will see why they preferred to describe it as a republic rather than a democracy. Of course, it has strong democratic elements, but America was not created to be a pure democracy, for very good reasons. Those reasons remain as valid today as they were in 1789. We should not go along with those who today are demanding constitutional changes simply because this or that institution or procedure established by the Constitution, say the Senate or the Electoral College, is not democratic. More democratic doesn't necessarily mean better. It doesn't necessarily mean more just. Our founders understood this, so should we. We have a republic, and we should keep it. I'm Robert George, McCormick Professor of Jurisprudence and Director of the James Madison Program at Princeton University, for Prager University.
All right, welcome back. So again, Thomas Jefferson said that the biggest threat to our form of government, which is a republic, is an uninformed voter. And we have plenty of those. We have misinformed voters. And he said the remedy, Thomas Jefferson said the remedy is education. And so that's what my show here is about. In these two 5-minute videos, there was 5 minutes about whether our leaders, current leaders, have taken us in the wrong direction, and then the second 5 minutes about we're not a democracy, we're a republic, and why, and it went into the Federalist Papers and everything else, and why we shouldn't be a democracy and we need to be a republic and we need to keep the electoral college. The kids have been in school now for, 5 years of elementary education, and 3 years of grammar school, and then 4 years of high school, and then 4 years of college. I think that's 8 and 8, 16 years of education. And again, we're paying premium dollar. We talked about how much money we're paying, and there's no change, there's no increase. In fact, they don't know this stuff. They don't know this stuff. What are they being taught? They're being taught pronouns, and some of the kids, Lord have mercy on us. I don't know. I'm going to be talking to the wall. Well, we don't have a wall because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sold there was millions of dollars worth of material to build the rest of the wall, and they sold it for 5 cents on a dollar. How stupid. Ignorant. How? And people are going to vote. Lord have mercy on us. I mean, one thing after another. She's on an interview and she says, they ask her, well, would you do anything different? Well, I can't think of anything. You can't think of anything. Okay, yeah, let's put up picture number 3. Picture number 3. Okay, the Democrats say it's okay. So maybe we lied about Biden's health and the Russia collusion, COVID and Hunter's laptop, January 6th, the Ukraine, Epstein and Hollywood and everything in between. But they want you to trust them when they tell you that Trump is the threat to the democracy that we shouldn't have. Okay, take it down. Again, this is the media's, that's their narrative. They lie. And I know you're living in your bubble and you think that January 6th was the worst thing, but did you see the video where the day that it happened and Nancy Pelosi was being driven away in her little limo to safety, and she said, this is all my fault. Well, yeah, it's all her fault. Donald Trump was president. He said, Nancy, you're in charge of security. I think we should have, the National Guard standing by and have them all. So she said, no, that's okay, no. And there was just a comedy of errors. It's kind of like Jeffrey Epstein. He was in his maximum security jail, except the cameras didn't work, the guards were gone, and he hung himself. And that's why they went to Mar-a-Lago, by the way. Mar-a-Lago and they're arresting Trump and charging him with all that stuff because he's got the list of all the names, and they're all on it. That's why they tried to assassinate him. That's why all this stuff is happening. Get out of your bubble, folks. God have mercy on us. Okay. You know what? That's just the bad news. We have to live with it. I tell you, even in the Old Testament, the Israelites, the Jewish, whatever, they had kings, the 33 of them, and some of them, I think only 4 or 5 of them were really good. The other ones were pretty bad. But there was always prophets that came and told the people, the king is wrong on this, you got to do this. And so we all have to make a decision. Are we going to follow what we know is wrong and it's kind of dicey, or are we going to do what's morally right and morally correct? So take your pick. This election, as they say, is our IQ test, and I don't know. I don't care. You'll get what you vote for, that's for sure. Are they cheating or not? Well, I guess that remains to be seen. Of course, then again, you can't say anything. They throw the cases out of court not because there's no evidence or there's nothing wrong to see here. It's, you don't have standing. Means, yeah, there's something we should probably investigate, but you can't do that because, you don't have standing. It's just bureaucratic process. That's what tyrants love. Process. They red tape you to do. We used to call it red tape. They would just red tape you to death. No, sorry, you didn't follow the process, right? Oh, you missed the deadline. Sorry, you're done. Okay, I'm out of time. The good news is God loves you. I love you, and I just hope someday you'll see the light. And just know that Jesus came, died for our sins, and He's just waiting for People to come to him, meet him at the cross and say, yes, Jesus, we love you and we know what you did and we want to follow you and try to become a better person. That's all we can hope for. Mankind should be kinder. Can we all get along? Okay, this show's over. Love you.